Okay, here is the floor. It's all the grout is in. It's starting to harden. You can see the haziness start right here. I'm going to quickly go around and try to clean up as much excess as I can. I didn't do the nicest of jobs. You can see there's still a lot of grout, so I'm going to try to get that up now while it's still damp. Another tip is that it's not a bad idea to overfill them or make it flush right now, because when you come by with the sponge you're going to gouge out a little bit of that. So you don't need that depression right now. You can make it flush, and then when you come through with the sponge it'll gouge it down a little bit. So I try to make it flush or a little bit high with the grout. Alright, you can see all the joints have hazed over except where the grout is thick in the center. So now it's time to wipe that excess grout hazy stuff off. And to do that, I'm going to use 3 sponges. Now I got most of the grout that's on either side of the tile off, and now this is when you can start really kind of contouring the grout. It's still wet, and I'm kind of putting a little bit of pressure, and you'll create that bow in the grout so it's not flush. And then make sure you get anything that's on either side. Sometimes you don't see it till it starts to dry, but you want to get it off as soon as possible. Otherwise you're going to be scraping it with a plastic chisel. Alright, I'm ready for the last step, which is sealing the tile. The grout has set for 3 days. And just like before, I'm using this liquid sealer, heavy duty. I'm going to put that down first, let it dry. It's usually absorbed. I put a second coat. Then I come back with this spray, which I think is like a 2 or 3 times a year spray. I just poured in the green container in the bucket. One thing I'm going to do differently is, before I used to use the sponge, but it seemed like it absorbed everything and it was a lot of waste, so I'm just going to use white rags and just wipe it on, let it kind of absorb the first coat, wipe it on again, and really get in the grout. And that's another thing, is we noticed that some of the grout on our shower that we did a few months ago was really dark, like it was absorbing water. So I'm going to take some more of the sealer and really try to get in that grout to waterproof it. But that's it. We're not too worried about the floor. It should go fine. Now when you're doing this, what you really want to do is get this grout. You can see how it's white here. You really want to rub that sealer in till you know it's penetrating into that grout. You can see it changed color to dark. And that way you know it's going to seal the grout and it won't get stained easily, because that's what will get stained. The tile should be pretty good. I'm wiping that over, but you really want to make sure that that grout turns a dark color. Alright, I did the first 2 coats with the green heavy duty sealer, and now I'm going to spray the cleaner and resealer on everything and let that soak in. Well, I ran into the same problem with this toilet that I did with the other two that I installed. I bought the $6 fancy extra thick reinforced wax ring. I put it on the toilet, and when I go to set it down I can hear it clunking around. And so that means that that's not thick enough. It should squish down and squish that wax ring out. So I had to go back to the store. This time I just bought the $3 one, not the cheap real thin one. I figured I'll just get the kind of the one in the middle. I think if I ever did this again, I should have done it this time. Just buy 2 of these extra thick ones instead of, for the same price you get one of these reinforced whatever. They're all the same, they're just wax. I guess it just depends on the thickness, but I should just buy 2 of the extra tall $3 ones at Lowe's. So hopefully I'm gonna have to take this off, put the second wax ring on, right on top of the other one, and that's time it should squish down and squeeze all that wax out and seal it properly. Because right now, you can hear it's not sitting on that wax ring, it's sitting on the ground, which means it's not a good seal. So I'll take it off, make sure I don't set it down on carpet or anything, put the second wax ring on, and then set it down over the bolts. Here's the bottom of the toilet, and you can see that it hasn't squished out at all. So I'm going to take this second wax ring, put it right over top of that one, and that should definitely all squish out. So let's go put that back on there. Well, after much hassle, I did get the toilet set by myself on these bolts. Actually, one of the bolts actually slipped down and fell in between the pipe and the wall, so it's somewhere on the ceiling, I guess. Now I just have to tighten it, and this longer bolt I'm going to have to cut with a hacksaw because it's way too long, and then I just have to connect the water line in the internal part of the toilet, and should be all set. Here's the internal part of the toilet. Fits down through there. Then you take the rubber washer and then the nut, screw that on the bottom to lock it in place. And then you take this piece and lock it with this other plastic piece so it doesn't leak. And the last step is just to use silicone caulk. 100% silicone. You can get 2 for $5. Don't buy the $6 ones. You can get these in 2 packs. I just have white 100% silicone, and that's it. Alright, when I'm doing this caulk, I want to make sure that I'm forcing it underneath the toilet too, so it'll give it a little cushion when you sit down on it. It's not sitting right on the stone. Hopefully it's the cushioning with the silicone here. Any gaps, right there and in front. The video you just saw was actually recorded 3 years ago, and we're still really happy with how the bathrooms turned out. It makes our house look much more modern. It gets rid of that old 70s kind of feel from when our house was built. It was a lot of work, especially with all the screw-ups along the way, but it's totally doable for an average homeowner that has some of the tools and some of the skills. When we started out, I had never done tile before, but by the 3rd bathroom we knew what we were doing. It went a lot faster and a lot easier. Installing the floor tile and the toilet went much quicker and much easier this time, since it was our 2nd time doing it. We made all the mistakes back when we did our 1st floor bathroom, and this time we knew all the tips and the tricks and doing 2 wax rings to get a good seal on that pipe, so that part went really easily. It was, however, our first time doing shower tile, and we did get a little bit excessive with the caulk and the red guard paint and the foam, trying to seal everything up. But since it was our first time doing it, we really didn't know what we were doing, and we wanted to make sure it was waterproof before we set the tile. And the tile we chose probably wasn't the best choice. It was very porous. It was a porous stone. And one issue we did have 3 years later was some of that red guard paint started to seep through the pores in that tile. We could actually see a little bit of red in the tile, and we're like, huh, I wonder why that's showing through. Well, it's because we We sealed it when we originally did it, but we haven't gone back every year and resealed it with that spray. So I think we're just going to scrub it, reseal it with that spray, and we should be good. And of course we can't do any of these bathrooms without having one mistake, and that was with the plumbing and the fixtures. I thought I could just buy new hardware handles and reuse the old plumbing pipe, but we had to replace that whole unit, put the new one in, and I had to do the couplers and solder everything in. But hopefully you know what the problem is and you can just take your time, work it out, and fix it. But we're still really happy with how the shower tile turned out, the diagonal pattern, and once we clean it up, everything should look great. So my advice to you is expect things to go wrong. If this is the first time you're doing this, you're not going to do it perfectly, and we didn't either. We screwed up on the tile floor and the shower and the toilet. But by the third bathroom, I was doing those all myself, and it went much easier and much quicker. The next thing is expect it to take a lot more time than you originally think. We thought, oh yeah, it'll take a week or a weekend or something like that, and it took a lot more because you have to go to the store and buy stuff you forget, or you have to wait for things to dry, so it takes a lot more time than you originally think. And it also costs a little bit more money than you thought. Even though we had the spreadsheet filled out and we thought we had bought everything initially, you forget, oh, you need one more box of tile, or you break a tile, or you need more mortar, so it's going to cost a little more money than you thought. But just make sure you have a plan. Measure everything up, know what you want to do, get dimensions and quantities for everything, fill out the spreadsheet and get an idea of what you need and what it's going to cost, and watch some videos and talk to people who have actually done it and get their opinion on what they forgot and how they screwed up, or tips and little tricks you can do to save you time and do it right, hopefully the first time. So let me know. Hopefully this is helpful, and let me know what you think. The video you just watched was just one part from a series of bathroom remodel videos we did. Click next to see the next video in the series, or you could check out my bathroom remodel playlist to see all the videos we did while remodeling the 3 bathrooms in our house. And if you found this video helpful, feel free to like the video and subscribe. Thanks.